Hi, I'm Charmaine. Welcome to Curiosity Over Fear, where we have the difficult conversations about overcoming fear with courage and curiosity. So, whether you're looking to change something with your career or just everyday life, I invite you to join me on this journey to be less fearful and more daring. I don't care what anyone says. Self care is not pretty. It's not this picture perfect version of bubble baths, massages, and walks on the beach. It's not always soothing or relaxing or even enjoyable. It's gritty, it's uncomfortable, and it's often invisible. I've been thinking a lot about the meaning of self care lately. And the more I look into it, the more I realize self care isn't just a nice idea, it's a necessity. According to recent surveys, adults in the US only feel truly relaxed for about 40 minutes a day. And that's insane to me. Only 3% of the entire day feels relaxed. Basically, our nervous system is literally functioning on a constant overdrive. No wonder burnout has officially been recognized by the World Health Organization as a public health issue. In fact, surveys from 2025 found that 82% of employees are at risk of burnout in some fields. So, yeah, self care isn't indulgent, it's a necessity for survival. So, I actually just finished a 13-week travel nurse assignment that required me to work night shift. And my self care went to shit. I was basically doing the bare minimum just to survive. Night shift is hard, so I commend anyone who has to do that on a regular basis. I actually got some labs done because I'd been feeling off and I was curious what exactly my body was doing on a molecular biological level. And it turns out that just the fact that I worked night shift was enough to throw my hormones completely out of whack. The lack of sleep, which by the way is a form of self care, made me feel even more tired than I already was. And it contributed to feeling unmotivated, gaining weight, brain fog, and my labs even flagged a need to watch my blood sugar levels. So my results weren't really super alarming, but they were enough of a wake up call. If I keep ignoring these signs, I could end up diabetic or develop an autoimmune disease like Hashimoto's. And honestly, what I saw in my labs was exactly what the research says too. Chronic stress, especially from poor sleep, can mess with hormonal balance, impair metabolism, and increase your risk for things like insulin resistance, high blood pressure, obesity, and autoimmune conditions. So it isn't just in my head, and it's not just in your head either. It's biological. And even though working night shift is what triggered this drop in self care, it also forced me to really take a hard look on how I've been treating myself. And I came to a hard conclusion. Self care is not easy, and it's definitely not the pretty picture social media paints it to be. I came to a realization that self care is doing the things that we need to do for ourselves, even when we don't feel like doing them. And why don't we feel like doing them? Because sometimes we've worked 14 hours straight serving other people, and by the time we get home, all we have the energy to do is to let the dog out, collapse in the bed or sofa, and numb out with Netflix. Sometimes it's because we're depressed and don't have the motivation to do anything, not even shower or brush our teeth. Sometimes it's just pure overwhelm. When you're taking care of everyone you're responsible for, your own needs fall so far down the list, you forget they're even there. Self care is doing the things that require discipline instead of giving into the knee jerk reactions and habits that keep us stuck. It is choosing discomfort now so that we're not stuck in survival mode later. There's actually research showing that when people avoid checkups or ignore fatigue, the burden often lands on their partners. One report from Psychology Today described a man who refused to go to the doctor, and eventually it was his wife who had to manage his serious health decline. So, secondhand burnout is also real. When we don't care for ourselves, someone else ends up picking up the slack. So taking care of yourself isn't selfish, it's responsible, and it's one of the best ways to care for the people you love. I also wrote down a few other examples that sometimes can be overlooked. So, self care is forcing yourself to cook a healthy meal instead of grabbing the first fast food option you see. Making time to shower, wash your face, and brush your teeth no matter how tired or overwhelmed you are. Saying no to over explaining. Creating distance from people who make you question your worth. Allowing space and friendships instead of constantly people pleasing. Having uncomfortable conversations instead of holding resentment. Choosing who gets access to your emotional energy. Letting yourself be received, not just being the giver all the time. Letting go of the version of you that's just surviving. Returning to practices that feel sacred, even if it's just watching the sunrise with your coffee or tea. Allowing yourself to fall apart instead of always keeping it together, and allowing someone to see you fall apart. Letting yourself cry without needing to justify it. Going to the doctor, dentist, or therapist instead of avoiding it. Getting your car fixed before it becomes a bigger problem. Folding your clothes, not because anyone's going to see, but because clutter equals chaos. Setting your clothes out the night before so your morning isn't frazzled. Replying to that one email or paying that one bill that's been quietly draining your mental energy. Taking out the trash so your home doesn't start to smell like your bad mood. Washing your dishes before they pile up, not because it's fun, but because it keeps your mental space from spiraling. Making a to-do list so your brain doesn't have to hold everything and then beat yourself up for forgetting. Keeping promises to yourself, even if they're small, like waking up when you said you would, not because you should, but because you choose to honor your intention. Fixing things before they break, like your car, your finances, your body. Decluttering your space because clutter builds stress and you deserve ease. Creating a schedule that leaves room for you to breathe. These are just a few examples that came to mind from my own life and from observations of those around me. But honestly, sometimes the most important part of self care isn't the action itself, it's the awareness behind it. And curiosity is a powerful tool for self care. Sometimes we don't know what we need until we stop and ask, why am I so tired? What am I avoiding? What's actually going on beneath this urge to scroll, isolate, procrastinate, or numb? Research shows that curiosity helps build emotional intelligence and interrupts harmful habits, not with willpower, but with awareness. The more you learn to be curious with yourself instead of judgmental, the more naturally self care starts to happen. Because self care isn't just about relaxing, it's about regulating. It's about taking care of future you, not just present you. And it's not something you give yourself once you're completely burnt out. It's the way you parent yourself before you even get there. It's preemptive, it's proactive, it's a way of saying, I want to make things easier for me tomorrow because I'm worth that effort. So if you want to love yourself, start doing the stuff future you will thank you for. So maybe just ask yourself, what's one small way I can care for myself today? Not out of guilt or pressure, but out of self respect. Not for the version of you that's burned out and crawling towards the weekend, but for the version of you that wants to thrive. Self care doesn't have to be big, it just needs to be honest. So, whatever it looks like for you, start there. Because future you, they're rooting for you, and you're worth showing up for. If you enjoyed this podcast, please make sure to leave me a review so that I can send you a free Curiosity Over Fear sticker. Then, after writing the review, claim your free gift by taking a screenshot and sending it to me via direct message on Instagram at Curiosity Over Fear. Thank you for joining me this week on Curiosity Over Fear. If you haven't already, subscribe so you can get a reminder to tune in every other Thursday for new episodes. And remember, always ask yourself, what would be possible if you led with courage